Morning, everyone. Before we formally start on this part 3 module of the leadership training for Asia Pacific, I'm going to show you in the slides some house rules. Kindly convert your names and your country or your district so you will be properly identified later on, especially when you raise your questions. And then all of us will be automatically muted except for the speaker and myself from every now and then. And then for the questions and interaction, there will be two things. You can do it in the chat box, input them in the chat box, or you can raise your hands and raise the questions yourselves. Okay, and you can also share some emoticons, the Zoom reactions, the likes, the hearts, the clap of the hands. You can do that. Okay. Okay, we proceed. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all fellow Kiwanians, and welcome to the Module 3 of the ASPAC Leadership Academy. This is the third of the fourth of the series we have gone so far. This is initiated by Kiwanis Asia Pacific. So I am Ging, sitting in behalf of Rico Tada, the chair of the Leadership Academy program. And we have two great topics this morning with two exciting and amazing resource speakers. So first, I would like to check first. I'm sorry. I would like to check first the attendance for this morning. I'll check names and districts. I don't have to read all your names. You are all acknowledged, but I will read by greeting, a greeting from your country. Okay, for example, do we have Nepal and from India? Namaste. From New Zealand, Kia ora. Oh my God, I'm really trying. Konnichiwa of Japan. Salamat from Malaysia. Mabuhay, Philippines. Good day, Australia. This one, I'd like to, the accent here is not good for me. Shan Chao from Vietnam. I hope I'm right. And half a day from Guam. So thank you for joining again for the third time in a row. Good job to all of us in the past two modules that we have done. So let's review. For the next slide, let's review how far we have gone. Module 1, we have taken up Kiwanis leadership and governance. On 2, personal leadership and influence. And right now, we have module 3 for the project leadership and the team leadership, okay? So this is how our program flow will go. So this part is the opening, and then this will be followed by the session 1, the project leadership by the past district governor of Indiana District, Taka Ogata, and then followed by the question and answer. And then there would be a break for 10 minutes before our session 2 starts, the team leadership to be taken up by the past KI president, Sue Petrisin, and then Q&A. And then don't leave that early yet. We need to have the evaluation and the next steps, and hopefully the group photo and the closing. But I think we're going to have the group photo first before I'll give the session 1 so that everyone would look great and fresh rather than on the last part, right? But don't leave yet for that evaluation. If I have to go back, don't leave for the evaluation part because this will serve as your attendance. And also we have to take notes so that this will form part of the giving of certificate later on during the joint convention in Manila. Okay, can I ask at this point of time, can I ask everyone to open their cams and let's have a group photo. Vice
Can
Chair
you stop
Gigi?
sharing? Kindly stop sharing.
Yes, okay, I'll do that. Okay. Can we request everyone to open their cams? Let us see your nice faces, beautiful, pretty, and handsome faces. Okay. I don't have cam right now. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. I hope you have your names there also.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Smile.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Govji, Vice Chair. Okay, I'll go back to my slides. Thank you so much. Okay, wait. So, are we ready? Hope we are, because we should. Because the first session will be coming from the past district governor of Indiana District, Taka Ogata. Okay. Gov, I'll be transferring.
Right, hello.
Oh,
So good morning, good
okay.
evening,
Okay.
good afternoon. My name is Taka Ogata, and I'm the past governor of Indiana District of the United States, and I am so excited to be here tonight, or today, this morning. I'm sorry, it's tonight over here. So we are going to talk about project leadership, and I know as a leader, you have lots of ideas and lots of things that you would like to accomplish. So we'll talk about how we can make the project success and what kind of role you will have as a leader. And as a leader, you'll design, plan, and lead the high impact projects. But the project don't fail because of lack of goodwill. I know we have all the goodwill and everything that we are passionate about. But many times they fail because of lack of clarity. So maybe it's in your mind, it is very clear what you want to do, but you are not really sharing that with others. And one thing that we need to keep reminding us is we need to convert ideas to actions. So many times wishing is not planning. It won't get there. And dreaming isn't doing, but action gets you somewhere. So first you need to execute, but then your leadership is how you are enabling others to act. So ideas alone have no impact. Projects succeed when leaders turn ideas into action. And through people, your role is to enable your team to act based on a clear goal that defines the leadership. So when you think about how we are going to execute your project, projects are not just activities. Projects are the vehicles for impact. And leaders create clarity, not just execution. And that's like a difference between manager and leaders. Managers manages all the details. Leaders is more like giving the direction and making sure you set the goal and making sure the entire team is heading to that direction. So why projects fail? Many times it's lack of clear purpose or lack of sharing the purpose. Sometimes it's too many priorities. Or sometimes, you, the leader, is doing everything. And sometimes it's unclear decisions. The other members or your team members don't know why you made that decisions. And why? So it's not the poor leadership or not poor ideas that causes failures. Sometimes it's a confusion at the leadership team that creates frustration at every level. So as a leader, you need to really have a clear message and share clear goal so that every team members know their roles, that they know what they need to do.
那所以可以呢，会来我就刚好先用他们的这个。
And also you have to be very intentional. You cannot do everything. If everything is priority, nothing is a priority. So sometimes saying no is the leadership's job. So in a way, leadership is choosing what not to do. And when you are doing the project, you want to have clear expected outcome. You know, what outcome do you expect? How much do you want to raise? Or how many new memberships do you want to get? Or how many new guests you want to gather? You need to have a clear goal so that everybody knows what you are expecting. A timeline. You should have all the schedules of events, tasks. You know, when do you start? When is the deadline? Make sure they are very clear. And the ownership. So for this task, who is the owner of that task? And making sure that everybody knows for this task, person A is the owner, and person A understands that the schedule, when it starts and when is the deadline. If these are clearly stated and everybody understands it, the project moves really well because they know the expectations and they know the deadline and they know what to do. Now, leadership shows when the decisions are hard. Sometimes things are not going well or things are backing up, and you may have to have difficult decision of maybe postponing the event. Or if somebody is not doing a good job, maybe you need to replace that person. You need to make sure that those decisions are clear and talk with that person or talk about that issue and making sure that everybody understand why you are making that decision. If that is unclear, then every team member gets a little bit of confusion. Like, I thought the deadline was today, but now you are saying it's okay to go over. That kind of sometimes demoralize the motivation of others too. Now, as a leader, sometimes it is easier for you to do everything by yourself. But if you, the leader, is involved too much, that weakens your team. If the leader is the engine, the team never moves. Your role is to be a leader and delegate the task to your team members. And micromanagement doesn't really work because you want the team leader or team members to own their task, understand that they have a responsibility of doing that. And if they're not doing a good job, that means you didn't clearly state what your expectation is, or what the meaning of the task, or what the deadline is. So encourage delegation, and this is a great way to nurture your next leaders. And so think about project as an opportunity for you to nurture next leaders. So what kind of success stories? Can talk about a little bit of really simple tasks. So in my club, we do duck splash. You know the yellow ducks, the rubber ducks? We have 3,000 of them, and we dump that into a pool. And then we pick like 20 ducks, and then whoever the number on that ducks that bought a ticket for that ducks will win a prize. But we have to number the ducks from 1 to 3,000, and we have to make it a batch of 30 boxes from 1 to 100, 1 to 200, so and so, and 2,900 to 3,000 in a tote box. So one way for us to sort all the ducks is we're working with key clubbers and asking key clubbers to sort all the ducks and put them into the boxes. Now there will be two ways of doing it. I can clearly state to the key clubbers saying we have 3,000 ducks. We have 30 boxes. We want each box to have 100 from 1 to 100 or 101 to 200, and clearly state that we want to then put in the box by end of today, and just ask key clubbers to come up with a plan how to do it and who is going to do what, and let them run with it. So that would be a clear way of clearly stating all the goals and what are the expectations and deadline. And we had a great time, key clubbers starting with a very simple way, and then as they go, they learn that it didn't work well, so they adjust it, and then at the end of the day, they had a very efficient system to do all those things. Now, if I were to say, okay, I am going to do everything. I am going to tell you what to do. That would be, and without telling them what we need to do, if I say, oh, you pick duck number 1 through 100, and then you put that in the box, there's no opportunity for key clubbers to nurture their leadership skills. That's just me or adult directing them, telling them what to do. And that is not how you want to run your team or how you want to run your project. As a leader, you want to nurture next leaders. You want to give them opportunity to grow. And leadership is not just an idea, but it's how you are working with your members and how you give them the opportunity to grow. And through the project, that this is the really in real time learning for all those coming leaders, well, soon to be leaders. And that is what really comes down to, is we need to shift our mindset. As a leader, you are not the manager. Your goal is to have that project success, but also you need to think the project as an opportunity to nurture your next leaders. So give ownership to your team members or your team leaders and allow them make decisions. You may have your idea of how to do it, but give them time for them to think, give them to come up with their how they want to do it, because then they might come up with a very different approach, just as good as yours or better. So trust your team, allow them to make decisions, and support the growth. So very simple framework is make sure you share what is the outcome, what you expect from this project, and who owns what, who owns this task, who owns that task, and make sure that what decisions are needed, make sure you understand that some decisions, you may have to do it, but within the task, you can ask them to come up with what decisions they would like to make. And then you can discuss about it and make decisions together. But don't complicate too much, keep it very simple. And it's kind of at end, but final message is clarity creates confidence in your team. And confidence drives actions, and action creates impact. And I know this is very general, not micro, not in micro, but I think for any project from small to big, this framework works because you really need to trust your team members, your team leaders, and give them the opportunity to become leaders. So, any questions?
Okay. So any questions from our participants on project leadership?
Well, if anyone
Any
has
questions?
if anyone has a good success stories or a
Yeah.
struggle,
Yeah.
it'd be great to share.
Yeah, okay. You may input them in the chat box for others, or you may raise your hand. Okay. There's a feedback here from the chat box, very clear. Okay. But okay, while the others are still thinking of some questions, maybe I could start one. You mentioned, Trustee, on the over-involvement of a leader. Now, I have seen a lot. How do we get over of an over-involved leader? Sometimes I see them every now and then, and maybe they have trust issues to some members, or unconsciously they get overindulged in doing things. I mean, they have their own way and they want their way to get to be the one that be followed. So how do we get over an over-involved leader?
Sometimes it's hard. But
Oh, I'm sorry for the question.
no, that's good. I mean, sometimes I become, I realize I'm involved too much. So
Okay.
I try to step back and um, give them a freedom to do
Yeah.
how they want to do it. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the thing that as a leader we need to understand to let it go.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, until you become like a project leader, you are
Yeah.
probably the engine doing that to become a leader yourself. So you are used to doing a lot of stuff. But I think once you are up there, you need to think about what if I'm not here? Who's going to do and
Yeah.
how? And I think just think about because that will strengthen our organization. Like the more
Yeah.
good leaders we have, the better our Kiwanis itself will become. So I think we need to really step back and think about how can we strengthen our Kiwanis club, Kiwanis itself. And I think that's
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
nurturing new leaders.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. I think it's all about awareness of stepping back when we become a leader ourselves. Okay. So there are questions here. I would like to read it from Kiwanian Vilma of 1A Philippines, Luzon. Besides the club president, is it okay to assign or appoint a club project chair?
As it will depend on the club. I mean, we'll probably have a club board could assign the project chair. And
Um,
also, I think as long as the club members agree, but I think it would really depend on the club culture.
okay. 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 I hope that satisfies Kiwanian Vilma. Okay, there's another question here from Shoya of Japan. What if some key club members are not willing to take the project or task at hand, and the leader has to end up doing the task? How do we eliminate this factor? In what ways, oh, too many questions. In what ways can we motivate our members to focus on the same goal and finish their task at hand? I think he was referring to delegating, and then the one they get delegated does not work with
Yeah,
the
no one
leader.
wants to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think first is you need to share your vision. Through this project, what is your vision?
Yeah.
Where do you want your club to go with this project?
Yeah, I think.
And then if they are sold on that vision, I think they will be willing to participate in support.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, I agree. No, but maybe Trustee was saying that we need to have an alignment to the direction of the leader so that the members would easily understand and follow what is the task at hand. Yeah, right. I hope that satisfies Shoya. Okay.
Can I have an
Any more
add-on?
questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Okay, from
Cherbal, go ahead.
Ging. So this is addressed
Yes.
to our speaker. Um, so perhaps what do you think or what can you say about the recognition part? Because one way to move people to work or get motivated is to acknowledge their effort and
Yeah.
announce the recognition. So
Yes.
what's your
Yes,
comment
I
on that?
think we don't do enough. We need to recognize everybody, and especially anyone who participated in that project, and those who maybe didn't really participate but was a strong supporter. Make sure you recognize them, and it doesn't have to be really big, elaborative recognition. It could be very simple thank you. It could be simple thank you, put their names in at the end of the project or at the beginning of the project. But to be recognized is one of the motivation, even though some people will say it's not, but it is. So make sure to recognize those who participated in the program.
Okay. So recognition is important in a volunteer organization. So efforts are being rewarded and acknowledged. Yeah. Okay. There are two more questions here. I would like to read it from Charlie of Vietnam. Hi, Charlie. I have noticed many key club members are so busy, focused on other priorities, such as their family and job, especially those who are earning. So they are not willing to take the project or task at hand, or their participation is very limited. The leadership team has to the leadership team has to end up doing the task assigned. How do we eliminate this factor? Good question.
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and every members doesn't have to participate in every projects. So if the key clubbers have certain area of interest, and maybe you have 4 projects for different goals, different interests that can satisfy students, key clubbers' interest. So maybe they will participate in 1 out of 4 projects. But I think it's like the other questions. I think the vision of what you want to do is the key.
Yeah. Okay. So Trustee was saying about aligning to the vision of the leader. So all of the members would be able to understand what they are doing as well. Yeah. And he was also mentioning about knowing the strength of the members and put them where they are good at, because sometimes there would be, this is one thing that I learned from the Amplify program. It's knowing the strength of your members. And that's where also Trustee Taka was saying, thank you, Charlie, for the questions. I hope that satisfies you as well. Last question. I hope this is the last question. Oh my God. Okay. What if the problem is the leader? What a question.
Well, I think as a team leader, you could probably work with that person and tell him or her that, hey, we got this, we can do this. But, if the leader is, for example, very micromanaging or just doing by himself or herself, maybe talk to someone who is at the equal level of leader and ask them to join and see what we could do together to better. I think, it'll be difficult if the leader doesn't want to hear anything. So I think that's one thing that we need to really sometimes be patient and kind of reason with that person. But if it's too much, ask other equal level leaders to help you guys.
Yeah. I think, Trustee was saying about inviting another person. I mean, that's a third party that would help us solve the problem if the leader is the problem. Okay, so
may I inject some ideas on that one?
Yes.
yes,
If
go
I
ahead,
may?
Chair Bell.
Yeah, because always remember that in our club, whatever we do, it represents all of us.
Mhm.
If we have a
Yes.
weak leader, then the members have a duty to do to help that leader to to lead you. Or we have the vice president, and we have the immediate past president. You can work it out, and you just be honest and be upfront, and then work about it. You work on it, because at the end of the day, you are representing a club where everyone actually, once you become a member once you become a Kiwanian, you are considered a leader, right?
Yeah.
So just maybe that's another way of addressing it, is talk it within.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Thank you, Past Chair Bell. Yes,
we have
and
we'll have differences, but we're on the same team. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. So I think this would be the last that there's a comment here.
Excuse me. There's
Okay.
someone. Rochelle Rubio has raised her hand.
Okay, I'm sorry, I cannot. Okay, go ahead, Rochelle, before I read the chat
Yeah.
on the chat.
Yeah, thank you for recognizing me. What if the problem is not the leader, but the lack of support from other members? If there are only 4 or 5 the same people supporting all our projects in the club, but then the club has almost 30 members. What do you suggest so we could raise interest for all the other paying club members to support the projects of the club instead of just relying on the same 4 or 5 people for all the projects that we make all throughout the year?
yeah, that sounds familiar. I think one way is to ask them what's their interest. And if their interest matches some part of the project, maybe ask them to support in that part. But I think one way is, so sometimes they are not, it's not lack of interest, but sometimes it's just they need a little bit of rekindling of their passion. And let's say if you are raising funds for scholarship, that may not be interest them because they're not really doing direct contact with the students. So maybe they might be interested in, for example, mentoring the key clubbers or mentoring children. And you can say, hey, we are raising funds for a scholarship, but we would love to have someone to mentor those applicants, or something like that, so that it ties with their passion. And think of a little bit of out of the box way to connect them to that project. And maybe just show them what impact that project is having. Because if they start bragging about your project, they are going to start participating in it.
Yeah.
So I know it doesn't really solve right away to the 4 or 5 members, but I think reaching out to them and maybe recognizing them for their support in other ways might be a little bit of nudging might work.
Thank you very much for that answer. Actually, even in meetings or general membership meetings, it's pretty hard to get a hold of the other paying members. So that alone, it's already tough. And then
yeah.
we really reach out to them. We have a group chat and we have committees assigned for projects. You know, we have done almost everything. I think we have we have been very creative about it, but still, we have run out of ideas, I think, on how else to get those
So-
other members involved in all our other projects. But they continue to support in a way that they are still paying the membership dues and everything, and then sometimes they also give sponsorships whenever we would raise funds for other projects. But then again, their presence, you know, we really can't get a hold of them, so it's really
So-
tough. It's really very
So
challenging.
what is their passion?
Well, basically, they all said that they are with Kiwanis for the children, and almost all of our projects are for the children. You know, sometimes it's for the aged, but it's really for the children. I think 90% or 95%, it's really for the children. So it's basically it. It's supposed to be their interest, helping children, educating children about children's recreation and all that, health and everything, all the aspects covered regarding helping children in need. But then again, it's still the same. I think they just have personal struggles, maybe. That's why they cannot.
Or maybe their way of supporting is just through the dues. But I think understanding their passion, understanding their interest is how you probably get them to participate, or at least think about participating in it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you, Rochelle. Okay. Yeah, more? Okay. Okay, I would like to read from the chat box. I would like to recognize them as well. From Francisca Rimondo of Baguio City, Philippines. I am new to the Kiwanis group. I understand that before you join in an organization, you are being oriented of the mission and vision. So it is just implied of your willingness to the task. No, I think he was referring this to the previous question as well. So it's just a manifestation of statement.
Yeah.
And the last one I would like to read from Pastor Bell. Get the members involved in the planning and give them a role. A role that is big or small. Yes, that's right. Okay, so so many questions coming in earlier. So I'm so happy everyone's taking in this seriously. Okay. And anymore, if there's no more question, we can move forward to the next. Thank you at this point. Thank you, Trustee Taka Ogata, for your time and your talent for sharing with us your experience as well of the leadership, project leadership.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Now, the next part is about a 10-minute break. But before we do that, Vice Chair Gigi has noticed that we have grown to 51 members. So at this point, we have to take another group photo so that everyone will be documented as well. So I will ask everyone to open their cameras again. We're halfway through, but we have to take another picture. Yes, good morning, Lorna.
Okay, one,
Okay.
2, 3. We have 3 pages, so I'm not sure which pages are you. So
Just
The
keep
first-
smiling.
yeah. And the third page. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Trustee Taka. Thank you so much for your time. And at this point, we will have a 10-minute break before we proceed to session 2. Rico, your time for the music.
Michelle?
Yes.
You're going to reset?
Oh, I can't, because if I have to reset, I have to close everything down.
Oh,
Is
So,
it okay that we just log out again because we have a technical problem, and then you log in on the same Zoom link? Okay?
oh, okay. Did we get it? We have to log out. Everyone have to log out and come in the same link. I'm right, Vice Gov? Vice
Yes.
Chair? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
so
Okay.
I end
Log
it.
out, everyone, and then come back. The same link. Thank
Okay,
you.
I close it.
Let's move on to the session 2 because I hope everyone now is ready and refreshed and we are okay, right? So, because our next topic will be presented by a woman leader. A student leader rise to become the first female Kiwanis International KI president, leading 600,000 members over 80 countries, and was able to raise during her presidency the 110 million US dollars to the eliminate maternal and neonatal tetanus. I remember this is one of the major health program of KI in partnership with UN and UNICEF. She's a mentor and inspiration, and even after retirement, she continued by developing leaders for the future of Kiwanis. And she recently completed her certificate in nonprofit leadership and global enterprise. Our next speaker believes in people, in us, in you, your potential, your purpose, and the power of showing up to make a difference. Let's warmly welcome Kiwanis International past President Sue Petrisin.
Thank you very much. Good day. It's evening here, and I will tell you that it's very cold in Michigan. We've had some snow today. I realize it's May, but we've had a little snow here. So if you hear the heater going on, you'll know why. It's great to be with you this evening, and I want to share my screen here. Let's get this set up for us. There we go. We're good. Okay. So it's always a pleasure to be with friends and Kiwanis members around the world, and I love have the opportunity, and I can't wait to Manila. I will tell you that I'm excited about our trip to Manila that's coming up very soon. And tonight I want to talk a little bit about building and leading effective teams. And some of the information that Taka gave you this will supplement that very well, I should say. So it gives us an opportunity to learn some new things and to put some things in some different perspectives. So the first thing I want to start with is that, as Taka said, projects create direction, and those are the things that we do for our club. So even before we start working out a project, we know that the best projects are going to happen when we have the best people, because you can't go anywhere without people. And this session is going to talk a little bit about how we show up as leaders, how we show up as leaders, and what we do as members of Kiwanis, and truly as members of our community. So the first thing we talk about is that leadership is something that we all have at whatever level that we are as leaders. And we can have a great idea, we can have a great plan, but if our team isn't aligned and they're engaged and clear, the project will struggle. And there's some words that I like to use it with leadership is that we have communication. Communication is the foundation of everything that we do. Collaboration, cooperation, conflict resolution. As much as we don't like to deal with conflict resolution is something as teams and as leaders that we need to learn how to manage and how to do. And collaboration, because as we talk about leading projects, we don't really lead the project, we lead people through the projects. Leadership is not execution, it's alignment, it's trust, it's continuity, and ultimately it's about creating the area and creating the conditions for other people to succeed. That's truly what we want to do. Because when you look at a team, teams reflect your behavior. As a leader, they reflect your behavior, not your words. We can say all the words in the world that we want, but reality is that people are watching our behavior and what we do. And I think about a time when I thought I had a team problem and people weren't stepping up to do what was going on. And both in my professional life, as a supervisor, as a leader, and in my role in Kiwanis, things weren't happening the way people thought they should, or the way that we should be doing things. And I had to sit back and say to myself, am I the person that's creating this problem? Or is it really our team itself? And what I realized was that I, as a leader, was stepping in too quickly. When someone didn't get something done or something didn't happen, we wanted to do the fixing. And that's very common for us as leaders, that we want to fix things. We're not building leaders at that point. We're building dependency, and those individuals are depending on us and what we do. And that became a turning point for me, because it really wasn't about the team. It was about being a leader. And as a leader, we need to make sure that our members and our members of our team are seeing value in what they do. Because if we're not providing that value to our members, then there's no reason for us. And honestly, it's discouraging for them if they don't see value in the time they're putting in the organization or into their community. So what builds strong teams? 4 words: trust, clarity, recognition, and ownership. All 4 of these words, all 4 of these characteristics are consistently in a strong team. And this brings us back to what our shared goals and purposes are. Every one of these items will take us to what our shared goal is. Because value is what our team members are doing. They are bringing value to the situation. And trust is built through consistency. Not what we say, but what we do. Day after day, time after time, meeting after meeting. So I ask you this question: would your team feel that they trust you? Would your team feel that they trust you? Would your team feel that they are trusted? Do they feel that as a team, you trust them as a leader? Because without trust, nothing else happens and nothing else works. Which leads us to clarity. As a leader, we need to remain open to learning. We need to invest the time and the resources to develop our team. And finally, we need to communicate. Because we know that unclear roles create weak teams. And as Taka mentioned, you have to have clarity in what we do. I've been a part of projects, and I'm sure you have as well, where we have very incredibly capable people in what we do. Everyone cares. Everyone is committed. But then things start slipping. Deadlines are missed. Details fell through. Not because people weren't trying, but because no one was really clear on who owned what. Who's going to make sure that the meeting location gets set up? Who's going to make sure they invite the speaker? Who's going to make sure we have the food? When all of theirs is out there and we assume that someone else is going to do it, that's when clarity is missing. And that's when even teams that are the best teams that you can put together, that's when those teams will struggle. And it all comes back to the communication that you provide your team. And I like to say that recognition drives engagement. It's one of the things that's often overlooked that we do as leaders, or that we don't do. And I can tell you a story about a student that I used to work with that always was in the back of the room, or where we were in the locker room, was always there, was always quiet, was consistent, and was always showing up. And I bet that you have Kiwanis members in your club that are the same way. They're the ones that's always in the background, they're always there, they will always be there. Not the voice in the room, wanted to make sure that they were constantly heard, but they were doing everything right. And one day, I remember sitting down with this person and recognizing that they were doing. Because specifically, this individual was not the leader of the group, was not the person that had the loudest voice, or the person that did all the work, but was a person that really needed to be appreciated for what he did. And not in a big public way. I mean, there are many of us that don't like to be recognized in public ways. But you know what? Just by me sitting down with him and saying, you know what, Ron, I appreciate what you are doing. Because what you do provides a consistency for our club. I see what you are doing. I value your input. I value the time that you are putting back to us. And I will tell you that there was a change in Ron. Over the time, Ron became more motivated. It increased his confidence. His engagement increased. And then his leadership started to advance. Many times we'll say to someone, hey, I'm looking for a volunteer to run this project. And you can be in a room, whether you're with 10 people or you're with 50 people, and not one hand goes up, right? And you as the leader are sitting there going, I need a volunteer. And no one volunteers. However, after that meeting, you may have someone that, like Ron, that comes up and says, you know what? I'd really like to help with that project. I just couldn't do it in front of everybody. What can I do to help? Because people don't disengage when you care about them. And we always say about things, it's like people are not going to remember who you are, but they're going to remember that you care about them. And that's really critical to what we do in Kiwanis. What gets recognized gets rewarded. And I like to say that all the time, because when you recognize those individuals, however they want to be recognized, whether it's a thank you note or whether you do a presentation to them in front of a meeting, however you understand that individual likes to be recognized, that's what will keep them going. If I want to, Gigi's there and I recognize that Gigi is doing all this work for us in front of everybody, and Gigi, that's the way she likes to be recognized, where Belle may just want me to say, you know what, Belle, you did a great job. Thank you for what you're doing. That's the stuff that you need to learn about your members and what you're doing. Because engagement and recognition will come down to ownership. Ownership is where many teams break down. We say things like, can you help me with this? Can you all pitch in? Can what we do? And it sounds collaborative, like that's what we want, but reality is it's creating confusion. Because if Susan says, well, I'll do this, and someone else jumps on and says, well, I'll take care of this, do we really know who's doing what? No one owns it. And when you get to the end of that project and something isn't done, then everybody puts their hands up and says, you know what? I didn't say I would do that, or I thought you were going to do that. But ownership means one person's responsible, one person is trusted, and one person's accountable. And I think that's an area of accountability that we as leaders and our members actually appreciate that as well, is they want to be held accountable. Because if I say I'm going to do something and I'm going to get the speaker for our meeting, but I don't do that, and I don't do it for several weeks, you're not holding me accountable. So why would I continue to work on that? Because you're not doing that. But strong teams are built clearly by defining who owns what. They're not built by chance. They're built by a relationship, they're built by value, and they're built by clearly defining who owns what. And it comes down to 3 simple sentences, 3 simple questions. Who owns it? Who decides? And who is accountable? If those are 3 different people, you don't have any ownership, you have confusion. And that's an area where ownership is unclear. What needs to change? How do you need to get that ownership? Because when you break it down, ownership creates accountability. If I know that it's my responsibility to be here tonight, and I accepted the ownership to present tonight, or I accepted the ownership for my club to be here and be present for the meeting, that's where my accountability is. Because if this is in place, you will have trust, you will be able to create goals, and you will have psychological safety. Psychological safety in the sense that no one's going to feel that they're being picked on because they know what the responsibility is. This is where leadership truly becomes visible. when ownership creates accountability. Which leads into delegation. I bet every one of us can sit here and say, I don't like to delegate. And there's a few questions that'll come up actually on the next screen, but delegation is leadership. It's not an administrative task. It's a leadership decision. And you think about a time that I thought, and you may have thought the same way, that I was really helping out because I was being involved in everything, reviewing it, checking it, fixing it. But then I noticed it. The more I stepped in, the more people stepped back. Because if I was doing it, they had no reason to be there. So when I give someone full ownership for that, it may be me checking and saying, hey, how's George doing on that project? It becomes uncomfortable because I'm asking them the question, but reality is that shows that I care about what they're doing and I want to make sure they understand. Delegation isn't about getting work done. It's about building leaders. We as leaders of our organization need to continue to develop those leaders who will follow us, our succession planning. Because when you delegate, people will not only meet those expectations, they will exceed them because they want to make sure that's what's happening. Delegation is about leadership. And why don't we delegate? Because you know what? It's easier because I want to do it right. I want that control. It's speed. I bet there are times that you've said it's faster if I just do that myself. Instead of me sitting down and talking with someone, I can just do it myself. It's quicker. And then you also put in doubt. Can they handle it? But reality is, all of these things are very costly because one, you want it right, but that doesn't mean that's the right way to do it. It's faster if you do it yourself, but are you truly engaging and are you truly helping develop other leaders? And you don't give someone the opportunity if you have doubt whether they can handle it. There's all a cost to all that. It makes people feel that they're not needed. It makes people feel that you don't trust them. And then there's a point of, well, why should I step forward? Because you know what? They're not going to trust me. They doubt that I can do it. And it's all a cost to us in an organization. Financially, there may be some cost, but reality is it erodes the trust that you have. It erodes the trust that they have for you. Because the more we step in, others step out. We may get results, but reality is we don't build teams. And our job as a leader is to build teams because teamwork, as they like to say, makes the dream work. Us doing it as a team is stronger than us doing it by ourselves. And I know you may have heard this phrase that the weakest link, your team is as strong as the weakest link. If you have a weak link in your team, then are you really accomplishing what you want to accomplish? And are you really doing it and helping those members? And this goes for Key Clubbers and Circle Kers and Action Club members and anybody else as well. Because we want to make sure that we're not micromanaging them. As Taka mentioned about how to get things done, numbering ducks, you could ask them to do it. You could tell them how to do it, but it might be better if they have to figure out how to do it. So how do you delegate? There's three components of delegation that I like to look at. One is ownership. You are responsible for that. Two is support. I'm here, but I'm not going to take it over. And three is clarity. What does success look like? This is what it looks like. Because delegation without clarity creates frustration. If there's no clarity in what you're doing, people will sit in the back of the room or sit in another meeting or the hallway conversations and talk about everything that happened when they don't have clarity because they didn't hear from you as a leader or that team didn't develop it themselves. So I put this together as a way to help you identify how effective teams are built with some information on the bottom as well. This is a model that I've used. Trust creates safety. If you trust people, they trust you. There's a safety factor in there that I know if I step out or something's not working right, there's a safety. Someone's going to help me. Clarity creates direction. We know which way we have to move this team. We know which way we want to put this project together. Recognition creates engagement. When you think about recognition and the recognition that you provide to someone, the engagement that you will get out of there will only increase because they know that you care about them and they know that you appreciate what they're doing. One thing that I do, and I'm actually up in northern Michigan right now because we have a big Kiwanis event tomorrow, I always carry with me note cards. And throughout my time as a Kiwanis member and I should say my time out is in life, I always write thank you notes. And I may drop those in the mail before I leave tomorrow, but I will write a thank you note to those individuals that help put tomorrow's program on. We'll have 50 or 60 people that will spend part of the day with us talking about what's going on in Kiwanis and what's coming up in our future. Those individuals I will get thank you notes from people saying, thank you for sending me a thank you note. And it doesn't need to be anything big. It's just a small note. The other thing I carry with me is a postcard. Just a postcard from where I've been that says, hey, I saw what you've done. I appreciate what you've done. If someone makes their club project makes a newspaper article or makes it on Facebook, I will write a note to them and say, hey, thank you. Great project. Appreciate that. Or if someone receives recognition, it's the same way, letting them know that you appreciate what they're doing, which all leads to ownership and accountability. And then the connection is the delegation leads to development. If you help delegate, you're developing those people that you're working with in the future. One thing that I've done since I was president 10 years ago was I've always continued to work and continued to mentor members of Kiwanis because every one of us needs development. And whether it's what they're doing or what I'm doing, because I learn just as much as they do when along the way. I've always learned something along the way. But ownership and engagement and recognition and clarity and trust all put together what a team's all about. Because ownership allows delegation. And, we can get caught in the leadership trap. Doing more work is not leading better. We often think that, we have to do it ourselves. We don't have to do it ourselves. Doing more does not lead better. If anything, it's very frustrating and it causes burnout. If you're doing everything, then your team's not growing. Give those tools to your team. And when I work with my Circle K students at the university, I tell them that, you know what, I'm here for you. You make the decisions as a team. I will help keep you out of trouble with the university from a policy standpoint. But you know what? I'm going to support that decision. When you're done in your role, if you take on another role, your time in Kiwanis is less because your job has changed, your family grows, your travel is different. The real measure of leadership is what happens when you're gone. The work that continues when you're gone. Mentoring. Are you helping to develop future leaders? That's where the real measure is. The real measure of leadership is not what happens when you're there. It happens when you're gone. You take a vacation, you go on holiday, you're away from the club. That's what helps you out. What happens when you're gone? Does everything continue to move on? Absolutely. Because your role as a leader is to create a legacy. Great leaders create more leaders, not followers. Your impact is what continues without you. Your job as a leader is to create more leaders. That's what you want to do because that's where it is. So as a result of the session, there's some things to remember. It's all about impact, clarifying your expectations, delegating with intention. Don't give something to someone just to do because you don't like to do that project or you don't like to do that part of it. Delegate with the intention. Help that individual learn and help them grow. Build trust. Develop leaders. And it all comes down to reflecting on how you are as a leader. Reflect on your own leadership. Take some time to sit and think about what you do as a leader. And are there things that you do that some people may not tell you? The question was earlier about what do you do if you have a leader that's not really a leader? There are people that are not going to tell you, but your good friends and your friends are going to sit you down and say, hey, let's talk about this, because they want you to do the best thing that you're doing. Reflect on how you show up as a leader, because remember, people want to watch, they're watching what you do, not what you say. They want to watch you. So as a commitment to action, one thing I like to do is to start a couple things. Take a moment to write down, as a leader, one thing you're going to stop doing, one thing you're going to start doing, and one person that you will trust more. Who is out there that you could put a little more trust in for what they're doing and would probably help them develop and blossom as a leader? Ask yourself, when will you act? Because as the leader of your team, you need to commit to action and help develop yourself as well. But it goes down to what and who will you trust? Because leadership is not about being indispensable. It's about making others capable. And the true test of leadership is what continues after you're gone. That's what leadership is all about. Short and simple. Who will you be remembered as? What is the legacy that you will leave as a leader? And what will make others capable of doing the job that you need to do? Because you need to put the value in them as a leader, because that's really what it's all about. It's how you develop your future leaders and how you provide them the skills and the tools that they need to do the job they're doing. So with that, I will say thank you, and I will turn off the slides and answer any questions.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you. Before I entertain questions, thank you, Past President Sue. It was very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions? Anyone? Questions? Okay, I can start.
Okay.
You were mentioning about team leadership, and I believe it's a journey. You have to build yourself.
Right.
But along the way, there would be conflicts. Conflict is part of leadership. Now, my question is, in times of conflict, what should a leader, the question is, when should a leader step in during a conflict, or versus let the team resolve the issues themselves?
You know, one thing I like to do is, I like to have the team try to solve it themselves first.
Okay.
Because if you automatically step in, then they don't learn anything, right? So the goal is, if there's a conflict, let them sit down and talk about it, because it may be a personality conflict. It may be a misunderstanding, what you thought someone was going to do versus someone else. I always like the team to try to solve that first. And when they get to a barrier and they can't solve it, that's when I like to step in. Let them try to figure it out, because someone may have an answer in the back, right? And sometimes it may be writing it down on a piece of paper because someone doesn't want to speak out.
Yeah.
Write down the conflict, because the other thing is, are we all talking about the same conflict? Have we all identified the same conflict, right? Is the conflict A or is it B?
Yeah, okay.
You know, what is that conflict? Because your conflict may be different than what I think the conflict is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So I like to let the team, and I will tell you, even in my professional career, I liked the students. I would get that from my students. Well, so and so, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, you know what? Have you talked to them? And I think that's one thing that we often don't. I like to teach my students, like, you need to talk to people, right? It's, you know, sitting there on the phone or on your computer isn't going to help that. We need to have that communication where it's face to face, because you can read body language, right? I mean, if you're talking to someone and they're, you know, they've got their hands crossed, are they really open to what you're saying? Some people, that's how they sit, but it's also an understanding of who are those individuals and understanding. So I like to wait. I like them to solve it, to try to solve it. And then if it's such a conflict at that point, then you may even get it right on the board. Okay, what is our conflict? Let's break this down.
Yeah. Right, right. Let them solve first.
Right.
And along the way, while they are talking, they will already giving their answers.
That's right. And you may be able to pull that out of the conversation, right?
Yeah,
They may be, you're like,
correct.
well, Ging said this and Gigi said this and Taka said this. Oh yeah. They just may not
Oh,
see it the same way. They see it, they all see it from their own point of view.
Yeah, correct, correct. Okay. Any questions more? I'll try to check the chat box. There are some comments here. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for a very informative topics from Kiwanian Lorna, from Kiwanian Ramhari. Very clear presentation. Thank you, Sue. From Kiwanian Susana, thank you for the very informative topic. And then from Kiwanian Lorna, your topic, enhance my leadership style. Oh, they got inspired by right now.
Thank you.
Questions? More questions? Here. Okay, here. From Kiwanian Vilma, from I think this Luzon. How to address a Kiwanian leader who projects know-it-all?
We don't have any of those people in our organization, do we? No, none. Yes, we have them. I think the big thing that you can do with that is sometimes it may help to find someone to be with you, right? Don't do it alone. Get someone else to sit down, and sometimes it's just a matter of sitting with that individual and talking to them about what you're observing, not in a point of being critical, but in a point of acknowledging what they're seeing and what you're seeing. And sometimes there are times when I like to just say, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm doing, because sometimes people won't bring it forward otherwise. If I go to say to them, well, Taka said this about you, or Joe said that about you, they're not going to bring anything to you. So sometimes it's me taking that responsibility to leader and say, this is what I'm observing that you are doing. So let's sit down and talk about that. And how can we better, how can we kind of redirect what you're doing and direct it in a way that's becoming more supportive of what's happening? In a point of letting them know that, you have some great skills and we could really use you in this area. Because you're right, they may think they know it all.
Yeah.
And sometimes we help build that for some people because of what they do. But sometimes you just have to sit down and say, this is what I'm observing, because they may not realize they're doing it.
Yeah.
They may not feel they're coming across that way. It's just the way they are and what they do. Sometimes it's just sitting down with them and, let's go sit for a few minutes and talk about this. Do you see yourself doing this? The other thing I have used is I've taken videos of people and saying, here's what's happening. Here's what I'm seeing. This is what your members are seeing. Do you realize that this is how you're coming across? Because they may be embarrassed that that's really what they're doing. They don't realize it.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just have to bring it, and sometimes you just have to bring it to their attention. And it can be very difficult for you as a leader, but that's your job as a leader, because they don't know what they look like in front of other people. They're seeing it from their side, not from everybody else's side.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I hope that satisfies you, Kiwanya and Vilma. Okay, coming across. Okay, so there's a raised hand here. Can I call Kiwanya and Lisa? Unmute. Okay.
Hello. Yes. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
And hi, everyone. Yes, I would just like to ask a question. How do you delegate in a way that this member or leader or co-leader, how do you delegate in a way that they feel empowered and they wouldn't look at it like they're being burdened by a task? And you mentioned about micromanagement. I believe most leaders unintentionally tend to micromanage, because their thoughts are all over the place sometimes, and they want to do it right, and in so doing, you get panic, and you get to check in on their work a lot of times, and that's I believe that's what they call micromanagement. So how do you handle that, and exactly how they would make how you would make them feel that it is not a burden, but it is like, an empowerment or from them to become a better leader.
That's a great question. And I think one way you can do that is to one way that I think you can do that, is that better? One way I think you can do that is to sit down and come to an agreement on what you're doing. Make sure that they repeat back to you what you're hearing, what you're saying to them. So what you like, if I say, hey, I'd like you to manage and get next week's speaker together, and they may say, oh, great, I got to do another speaker. Make sure they understand they can repeat back to you what they're doing, because then they understand the expectations. And I think that's truly when micromanagement really comes in, is they don't understand what you're asking them to do. Or you've come together and it's like, oh, this is one thing I really hate to do. I don't like to do this. So they automatically feel like, oh, it must be a bad thing to do. But it's more of a point of sitting down and dividing and saying, hey, what can we do? How do we make this work together? There are times when you can talk about this, I can talk about this, or hey, I'll take that part of the project this week, you take it next week. Break it up so that they don't feel like they're always stuck with the bad part of the job. Because there are people that think, oh, I got the cleanup every week, where if you divide it up between people, but understanding what the expectations are is a great thing, and making sure that you each can explain each other what that project is or what their expectations are. Did that help?
Understood. Thank you
Yep.
very much.
Okay, more questions. Okay, I'd like to read from the chat box from Governor-elect Carlos Capitan of Southern Philippines. Thank you for delivering such an insightful and engaging lecture. Your expertise and the way you presented the concept made the session both informative and inspiring. I especially appreciated the practical examples and the real-world perspective you shared, which made the lessons easy to understand. Thank you once again for your valuable contribution. Okay. Here's one, I think this would be the last question. From Kiwanian Francisca, Baguio City. Is it important when you delegate, you empower them and let them do their own style, but the result is the same vision?
Right. That's very important. Every one of us has a different style on how we do things. I may do it one way, you may do it the other way, but if we get to the end and it's the same thing that we need to have done, that's what's important. You may be someone that some people often say that I'm a last minute person, but you know what? If I get it done, it's okay, right? Where you may be, and some things I do, I'm planning our district convention, which is in August. I'm planning it out now, so we know what's happening all along the way. That's something I can't wait till the last minute to do. But I've let the people that are going after the sponsorships, I've let them do their work, right? These are your tasks. The people that are going after the keynote speakers, here's your tasks. As long as I have a keynote speaker on Friday at noon, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I don't care how they do it and when they get there, but I want to make sure they have a speaker. And I want to make sure when we do bingo or dueling pianos at night, that it happens. How they get there is up to them. And then, of course, reporting out. We meet weekly, right? Everybody's reporting out what's happening. So there's enough communication going on. And it all really comes back to communication, whether it's a text message or whether it's, a WhatsApp or an email. And I think oftentimes we as leaders tend to read into emails because people type something in, and if someone types it all in caps, we think they're yelling. Or if they're doing this, they think this is wrong. That's what we have to remember to step back in, is that individuals might be typing that or sending that to me really quickly at the last minute. We don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And I think a lot of times we have to step back and say, okay, this person's working on something. Let's let them do that and get it done.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, I will like to read from the chat box again from, I think this is Lieutenant Governor Jennifer. Thank you for this information on the topic delegation, because sometimes there is a problem in delegating when there is no clear-cut objectives and instructions.
And that's the first component of building a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we here
Target
to
goals
accomplish?
and objectives. Yeah, right. So any more questions? I think we need to wrap up. And before that, I would like to express huge and big gratitude to past President Sue for sharing your time and your talent to Kiwanians in the Asia Pacific. This is indeed a very meaningful morning, Saturday morning for all of us. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I will share my slide. Wait. Okay, so this is the last two. I think this is the last two. Okay. From here, we have done the module 3 and the 2 sessions. So how do we get your certificate? Just do the evaluation after undergoing the 4 modules. So in the next slides, I will show you, this one. I will share to you the QR code or the bar, which you can scan and then complete the evaluation. I'll give at least 2 minutes to all of us to answer the evaluation form. Okay, it starts now. You can start taking the evaluation form, filling up the evaluation form.
Could you please copy and paste on the group chat?
Okay. Oh. Wait. Oh, wait. Oh my gosh. Rico, can I ask assistance? I cannot copy and paste for now. Oh, shucks.
You click on that HTTP and then it can be copied.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Okay, you just copy that one, the upper one. Copy,
Okay.
then send it to the group chat. Thank you.
Thank you for the guide. Yeah, here. Yeah. Thank you for the guide.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, while most of us are filling up the forms, we would like to request everyone here that if you are attending the Manila Convention in person this June, please type your name and country in the chat box. So if you are done, your name and country in the chat box if you are going to attend physically the Manila Convention. Thank you again. So I hope everyone's okay with the evaluation form. So for the next session, the last but not the least session, this will be on Saturday, June 6, 2026. We have 2 more sessions that will complete the 4 modules. Session 1 will include the digital leadership by Governor Gary Wong. And then session 2, the youth engagement by past KI President Jane Erickson. So I hope to see you on June 6 again to complete your 4 modules. So you will have your certificate during the June convention in Manila. Okay. So I think that ends our session for the module 3. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for participating and engaging yourself. And thank you to our resource speaker, Trustee Taka, and past President Sue for joining us and making this a memorable and meaningful Saturday morning for all of us. Thank you.
Group
And
picture, please.
bye.
Are we
We'll
gonna
have a
get?
picture.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can you
okay,
snap
okay.
Some join
sharing?
late.
Okay.
Okay.
Open camera.
Yes. Keep
Yeah,
smiling. Just keep
we
smiling.
have 3 slides or 2 slides left. So, okay, smile. I'll have another one for the page 2.
Well done, Gigi. You look great.
Yeah, thank you, Michael.
Great having Sue here. Haven't seen you for some time. It's always a pleasure hearing you speak.
I'm
Hi,
happy you're
Sue.
in, Michael.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you, everyone. Ging
Thank
signing
you.
off. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
President Sue, and thanks for all the participants.
Thank
Thank you,
See you
Taka
all in
and President
Manila.
Sue. Thank you.
Bye.
See you in Manila.
Hello.